Okay, so picture this. It's December, you're trying to reflect on your goals for the year, and you find a half-empty planner just sitting there on your desk. If you're anything like the rest of us, and especially if you're neurodivergent, that probably feels like a heavy, really frustrating weight of guilt. You might look at those blank pages and think, well, I completely failed at keeping my life organized again. It's an awful feeling to look at an empty planner and immediately interpret it as a personal failure. But today in this explainer, we're going to challenge that exact narrative.
Because what if the problem wasn't actually you? What if the real issue was just the rigid system you were trying to force yourself into? Well, enter Focus and Flourish. This is a genuinely brilliant planner that's designed specifically for teens with ADHD. The entire premise here is to help users build routines, track their moods, and grow, but doing it completely in their own unique way. It literally removes the shame from the whole organizational process.
I mean, just look at the stark contrast here. Traditional planners are built on these super rigid schedules, right? They demand that you do the exact same thing at the exact same time every single day. But here is the reality check. ADHD brains simply do not work that way. They don't run on routine, they run on dopamine, hyperfocus, and these incredible creative leaps. Trying to force an ADHD brain into a rigid schedule is basically like trying to force a square peg into a round hole. It just causes friction and exhaustion.
And that brings us to the core philosophy of this entire system. This planner is built for ADHD brains, not against them. I love that. It's a total paradigm shift. Instead of telling you that you need to try harder to fit the system, this system is designed from the ground up to bend and adapt to you. It actually leans into how a neurodivergent brain naturally operates.
So, the absolutely crucial point here is this central mantra, progress, not perfection. This planner explicitly tells you that missing days is not a failure. It is perfectly fine. If you skip a week, or if you completely abandon it for a month and then come back, you haven't failed. Every single small step you take counts. It completely shatters that toxic all-or-nothing thinking that derails so many of our goals.
Let's dive right into Part 1, the year in review, an emotional look back.
The reflection begins with this fantastic prompt. What am I proudest of? This is just a great starting point because it encourages you to recognize your wins, no matter how small they might seem to neurotypical standards. For an ADHD brain, a massive win might not be getting a 4.0 GPA. It might simply be finally figuring out a morning routine that actually gets you out the door, or just remembering to drink water for 3 days straight. Those are massive accomplishments, and they deserve to be celebrated.
Next up, the planner asks, what surprised me about myself? This prompt is totally designed to help uncover those hidden strengths. It points directly to those moments of unexpected resilience or those times you tapped into your ADHD superpowers. Maybe you hyper-focused on a creative project that turned out beautifully, or maybe you problem-solved a crisis in a surprising way just because you noticed details that everyone else completely overlooked. Now, obviously, reflection isn't just about the wins. Next, we ask, what did I learn the hard way? Let's just pause on this for a second, because it is so validating to see this question. Struggles, overwhelming days, and hard lessons, they're an inevitable part of the ADHD journey. This prompt doesn't ask you to toxic positivity your way out of the hard stuff. It asks you to look at those difficult moments, acknowledge that they happened, and see what you actually pulled out of the wreckage. Because ultimately, the planner helps you synthesize all of those emotional reflections into this one vital truth. Struggles are data points for growth, not failures. Actually, scratch that. It's more like they're just really valuable information. For an ADHD brain, a misstep or a breakdown in routine isn't a sign that you're broken. It's just your brain telling you, hey, this strategy isn't giving us the dopamine or the structure we need right now. And that data helps you adjust your future routines.
Moving on to Part 2, evaluating systems and support.
Okay, now it's time to get objective. What habit or routine made the biggest difference? This challenges you to step back and evaluate your systems. Was it those 25-minute Pomodoro-style focus blocks? Was it taking 5 minutes to do a quick brain dump on paper before starting homework to quiet a noisy head? It's all about figuring out which specific habits actually provided the necessary dopamine to keep you going.
This breaks down into a highly practical approach. First, notice what genuinely helps and keep it. Next, identify routines to drop or change. And here is the key. Drop them without a single ounce of guilt. If a habit feels useless, let it go. And finally, acknowledge your resets. Understand that resetting your habits isn't a failure at all. It's just a necessary maintenance cycle for your brain.
But hey, habits aren't everything. The planner then asks, who really showed up for me? This highlights the absolute importance of community.
Managing an ADHD brain is tough, and you are not meant to figure it all out alone. This prompt reminds you to actively recognize the people in your corner, whether that's a trusted adult, a great teacher, a therapist, or a friend who just really gets it.
Which brings us to part 3, the forward pivot looking to next year.
The planner frames this as a choice, what to leave behind versus what to carry forward. There is something so incredibly empowering about this comparison. It's an active, intentional choice to leave behind the unhelpful expectations that weighed you down, while deliberately carrying forward only the things that actually work for you.
This sets up a crystal clear action plan. Look at what we leave behind. We are ditching rigid rules, the paralyzing guilt over skipped planner pages, and habits that just drain us. And what do we carry forward? We are bringing immense self-compassion, the specific routines we proved actually work, and the support systems and people who showed up for us. I mean, that is a recipe for a great year.
And finally, part 4, the validating conclusion.
Just read this with me and let it sink in. Every page you filled in, every page you skipped, every reset, every restart. For anyone who has ever abandoned a notebook by February, this is a massive sigh of relief. Skipping pages is completely acceptable. Restarting your routine a dozen times in a single month is totally acceptable.
And why is it acceptable? Because of this final, profound statement right here. All of it counts. Literally, all of it. Messy, imperfect progress is still progress. Every time you tried, every time you took a break, and every time you tried again, it all added up to your unique path forward. So the big question I want to leave you with today, inspired directly by this whole system, is this. How will you define your own progress this year? Will you measure it by some rigid standard of perfection, or will you embrace the messy, beautiful reality of your own brain? I really hope this explainer has empowered you to approach your next year with deep curiosity, ultimate flexibility, and just profound self-compassion. Keep growing your way.